All right, let's talk about some more legal action here. This incredibly significant. We put this up on the screen from Axios. Department of Justice planning to sue Ticketmaster, parent Live Nation. So there was a Ticketmaster Live Nation merger or acquisition back in the Obama era that made them this giant in terms of the live music and live arts industry. So the DOJ planning to sue them for antitrust violations. We don't have a lot of details about what the specifics of that case are going to be, as it has not come to light yet. But just as a reminder about the history here, so back in 2010, Live Nation acquires Ticketmaster. The Obama DOJ antitrust division does very little about it, even though some of the concerns, which would later become manifest, were already quite predictable at that point. But, there were decades in which Democrats and Republicans joined together to basically stop enforcing antitrust violations. This was Reagan, this was, first Bush, this was Clinton, this was second Bush, this was Obama, all of them very similar approach. And the Biden DOJ has taken a markedly more aggressive, and I would say a return to, more true application of the law when it comes to antitrust. This article reminds that there was a 10-year consent decree when they were allowed to acquire Ticketmaster in 2010, which was meant to keep them from abusing their market dominance, like to punish artists that don't, use their services, et cetera, or to punish venues that don't want to partner with them for ticket sales. That consent decree has really not been enforced, which is pretty typical, which is why it's more important to block these things to begin with, because the enforcement after the fact is very, very difficult. And they go on to say artists have long spoken out about Ticketmaster's practices, but those murmurs turned into rallying cries after Ticketmaster's site crashed for thousands of Taylor Swift fans in 2022. So we also have Ilhan Omar celebrating this action, calling for them to be broken up. We can put this up on the screen. We also have, she says, let's go. I've said it before and I'll say it again, break up Ticketmaster and Live Nation. You've got more perfect union, talking a little bit more about, this suit and that they're being accused of running an illegal monopoly over the ticketing industry. The corporate monopoly charges too much for tickets, exploits venues, hurts fans and artists. So effectively, Emily, what you have is this industry giant that, as someone who's put on these, little live performances can attest to, they give you no other choice. They can charge whatever they want. Not only do they control the ticket sales, but then through Live Nation, they control, the concert promotion. They can, in fact, punish venues, punish artists who don't want to work with them. They also own the ticket resale platforms. So not only was a fee charged on the front end to Ticketmaster when the tickets initially purchased, but then if it's resold, and there's indications they encourage people who are reselling to, really gouge the final consumer. When it's resold, they get another fee on top of the one that was already paid in for this ticket. So they really have control over a bunch of pieces of this ecosystem and have weaponized it against everyone who is a consumer of music, or the artists, the fans, the venues, et cetera, in a way that I think is very clearly abusive. And some of this has really been hidden. I want to get your reaction. And then Matt Stoller, our great partner, who's, antitrust expert, he also did a breakdown of some of the specifics of the way that they have been cooking the books to try to avoid the very clear implications of the way that they're overcharging people. But first, your reaction to this, this new action that is being reported by the DOJ.
Well, first, I think it's really important to see, like, Ilhan Omar, more perfect union. They're right. They've been on top of this case for a really long time. And it's unfortunate, I think, that the right hasn't picked up on what a populist cause this is. And actually, frankly, what a free market cause this is, because there is no competition. And that's one thing I wanted to toss back to you, Krystal, because you guys, when you've gone out into different cities all over the country and hosted these events, the ability to find competition to Ticketmaster, first of all, to like how Ticketmaster wields its power as a virtual monopoly is one thing, but then also if you want to find some way to bypass Ticketmaster, it is virtually impossible. I mean, there are some ways that some people can do it, but in your experience, I remember talking to you guys about this, it's like impossible to have an event, a major event, without Ticketmaster, or even with Ticketmaster, they make it so hard too.
Yeah, so basically you have to be, in order to avoid using Ticketmaster, you have to be really big to start with and basically be able to do your own sort of like ticket sales. But that's not it. Then you also have to have a venue that's willing to work with you when you are going around Ticketmaster, knowing that they can then, because they also own Live Nation, can say, okay, you want to have, Krystal and Sagar, that's fine. Guess what? Next time Ariana Grande's coming to town, not that we're playing the same venues as her,
it's either Krystal and Sagar or Ariana Grande.
Ariana
You
Grande.
cannot have both.
What's your choice, right? So, yeah, so they can put pressure. Okay, well, these other comedians, artists, whoever that's going to come through your town, they're going to go to a different venue because we're going to put them there. So that's the sort of bind that they put people in. There was a case recently in New Jersey I referred to Stoller's explainer that he did, which was excellent. Everybody should go check out the whole thing because I can't possibly do it justice. But there was some discovery in this case that was very interesting because effectively you had some sort of a festival that wanted to, local New Jersey festival. They wanted to put on a music show. They hired these established concert promoters to, do that work for them. And Ticketmaster just basically came in like a bully over the top and was like, no, you're going to have to deal with us. So that was number one. Number two, and this gets to the argument that Ticketmaster makes about how, no, we're not gouging, we're not exploiting. They claim we really don't make that much money. We don't charge that much money on the tickets. We don't make that much money. Here's our books. Look at this money that we're losing in terms of tickets. Okay, well, you look at that. Well, I guess it's not a monopoly if they're not charging these monopoly fees. But what comes out in this case is that what they would do is they would contract with these different vendors with regards to this concert. And they would have these secret deals where, okay, Ticketmaster and the local concert promoter, they're going to equally share the cost, seems even Steven, 50-50, et cetera. But they would have these secret deals with the vendors where they wanted the vendors to overcharge on the front end, but then give a secret rebate just to Ticketmaster on the back end that the artist, the venue, and the concert promoter had no idea about. And they actually went so far as to keep two sets of books. One that showed this purported loss on, we're not even making that much money in this industry. And the other one that reflected these secret deals that they were making with vendors, which were hugely profitable, throughout the entire country to the tune of hundreds of millions, potentially billions of dollars. That's one of the things that maybe will come out in discovery. Let's listen to a little bit of how Matt Stoller described this approach.
Live Nation negotiated third-party expenses like rental costs with the venues directly with vendors in exchange for exclusive financial gains not disclosed to their artists or their agents, managers, or independent co-promoters in the form of rebates. So, in other words, Live Nation had secret side deals with vendors to inflate costs by overpaying those vendors and venues, which meant that any profit from the event would evaporate. It would look like a loss. Co-promoters and artists who share in profits would lose out, and would be told that the show just wasn't profitable. But the thing is, those vendors, those venues who had gotten extra money by being paid inflated costs would in turn remit that money back to Live Nation in the form of secret rebates. In other words, Juice would pay the inflated cost that would get furtively funneled back to Live Nation, along with all the profits from the show. At Live Nation kept two sets of books. So in one case, they posted an entry of $90,000 rent for settlement, but only $75,000 internally for the same item. They routinely put in profit and loss statements large losses while admitting that events actually made money.
So there you go. And Juice being the concert promoters who were originally hired. And so by having these secret deals on the front end, Juice is getting charged these exorbitant prices. And then that's just getting funneled back to Ticketmaster / Live Nation in the form of these secret rebates. It's also funny, Emily, he talks in the piece about how we came to know this because they actually got their way of keeping these documents that were revealed through discovery secret. The court ruled like, okay, yeah, you can keep this stuff secret. And then Live Nation accidentally posted it online themselves so that we could all know what they're up to. And again, it will be very revealing, I think, to have more of these accounting practices and tricks that they use to wield their monopoly power revealed to the public.
And, again, they're also spending around $1 million on lobbying just in the last couple of years. I think they're up to $1.7 million in the current election, according to The Guardian. It's a lot of money on lobbying. It's not, compared to other industries or other companies, there are people who spend more, but it's an increase, and there's a reason it's an increase. So to that question of competition in the marketplace, to your point, Krystal, if you are a small intended competitor, wannabe competitor to help the state of, quote, consumer welfare, to borrow the phrase from Robert Bork, and that sort of standard that people, whether it was during the Obama administration or the Bush administrations or even right now, who defend this, if you want to bring consumers a better state of welfare, if you want to, help bring prices down and you're a competitor, not only is the bar already so high because Ticketmaster, Live Nation, they're all established, but they're also then spending more than $1 million lobbying to keep themselves that way. So the barrier to entry for a competitor is it's like almost impossible. And there is no consumer welfare here, which, as Lena Khan said, the Taylor Swift Ticketmaster thing that you guys covered so well turned Gen Z, like tons of Gen Z people, into monopolists, so anti-monopolists overnight, I think is the quote from Lena Khan at the time. And again, that's because the consumer welfare is harmed by this particular situation. And you just hear no conservatives talking about it, even though it was something that happened under the Obama administration. And Chuck Schumer was like against it at the time, but it happened under Barack Obama, and it is harming consumers, and it is the most anti-free market conduct, unless you are a full Ayn Rand, like let everyone just be monopolists, and monopolies are good, unless you're sort of on the libertarian fringe. This is not a competitive marketplace anymore. It's a classic case of anti-competitive behavior, and there's just so little Republican concern about it, despite the fact that it's clearly a populist cause.
This is one of the areas where I have to genuinely give kudos to the Biden administration. They have broken with, the Obama neoliberal approach in this, and they also have been significantly better, not perfect, but better in terms of labor rights. Those are, to me, the two strongest areas, and where they have the two sort of strongest teams of personnel acting. And it is consequential. It's also the reason why, like, the Wall Street Journal, man, they hate Lena Khan. They hate this new antitrust enforcement. It's why you see, even liberal Wall Street figures like Jamie Dimon being like, yeah, we aren't so bad with Trump. Like, maybe he was okay. Because you also have to remember, a lot of sort of like rank and file Wall Streeters, their bonuses come from these big merger and acquisition deals. So to the extent that the Biden administration, and they have significantly, has sort of like put a freeze on those deals happening. They're all waiting it out, hoping Trump comes back and there's less scrutiny over their actions. That has really put a hit on the wallets of a lot of denizens of Wall Street. And so there's a real CNBC, Wall Street Journal hatred of Lena Khan, Jonathan Cantor, and this whole direction of the Biden administration. But if you are not a Wall Street denizen, if you are an ordinary person out there who would like to go see a concert or comedian or whatever it is that you're into and not be completely gouged at every turn, you should be very pleased with this lawsuit.
But there's nobody, for the most part, representing your interests in Washington, because who has the money to spend on that kind of lobbying? Well, Wall Street does, and the people who oppose Ticketmaster really don't. So I think that's just an important point, Krystal. The Wall Street Journal has written like 100 op-eds against Lena Khan. If you talk to people in that sort of world, the sheer hatred of Lena Khan is so
genuinely
powerful.
Unhinged. It is genuinely unhinged.
Unhinged, but it's because of what you said. The stakes for them are so high. There's so much on the line with these mergers and acquisitions. So, we'll see if any Republicans take up the Ticketmaster cause at some point, even ones that have been good, because there's this question of there's this question of big tech. Ryan and I have said for the last couple of months, one of the questions in our interview with Ted Cruz, we ended up talking so much about Israel. We wanted to ask him actually about he wrote a whole book that he was here to promote about big tech and how big tech is too big. And it is anti-competitive, but he's super opposed to Lina Khan. So it's a genuine dilemma, I think, for a lot of conservatives, kind of like the speech questions we were talking about earlier, Krystal.
Very true. Yeah, it all is filtered through a partisan lens versus a principle lens.
Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.